Hi everyone, today we are going to start our topics in HRM, Human Resource Management. First of all, what is called HRM? HRM is the strategic approach to the effective management of people in a company so as to gain a competitive advantage. That means how we can use the strength of human capital to the success of an organization. As of now, it deals with the people and issues relating to employees such as compensation, hiring, performance management and training. Because right now HRM deals with all the processes like performance appraisal, training methods, benefits, incentives and all. From where it all began? What is the ground theory for HRM? This all begins with HRM theories. So let's see what are the HRM theories. HRM theories. First one is about scientific management theory, or rather than scientific theory of management. So in 19th, Frederick Winslow Taylor, F.W. Taylor, propounded the scientific management theory. Hence, it is also called as Taylorism. The term scientific management is first introduced by the scientist Louis Brandeis. So, about scientific theory is that mainly F.W. Taylor tried to emphasize on increasing the efficiency of work and increasing the production. So, he always focused on the number of units of output that we are going to produce. They are always focused on the outputs. So, he firmly believes that science is the major part for that. Using scientific theory, using scientific process, we can apply it to the management so as to gain success in the organization. So, it is an earliest attempt to apply science to the management like science to the engineering process. So, the major emphasis is on increasing the efficiency of work and production through the use of intensive technology. That means if we apply science to the management, we will get a developed technology. Using this developed technology, we can make the efficient machines. So, using this efficient machines, so we can we can make the production very easily and quickly. So, he firmly believes in science. So, what the path of human beings there? Human beings are just considered as an adjunct to machines to increase the production. That means human capital acts as a bridge between the machines and the production. They are used to make the machines work possible. So, this is all about scientific theory. So, next about scientific management theory, they first introduced in US, and after that, after First World War, scientific theory, that is scientific management SM, passed to Russia as Stakhanovite movement. Next, what are the assumptions of scientific management theory? Taylor propounded scientific management theory according to certain assumptions. He believed that these are the assumptions. The first one is about performance can be improved through scientific methods. That means we have a systematic scientific methods for the production. The performance can be improved only through science, only through scientific process. And the next one is a good worker always obey the order of management before initiating an action. That means who will be a good worker? The one who obey the orders of superior, because they don't have any independence, they don't have any freedom to ask questions. They only what they want to need is they want to obey what the superiors say. And the last one is every worker is an economic man. That means the money is the only motivating factor for each and every employee. The employee need not want any psychological need, any physical need, they only want is money. So, money can motivate man. So, these are some of the assumptions of Taylor in which he propounded scientific management theory. So, let us see what are the characteristics of scientific management. The first one is science not rule of thumb. That means we should eliminate every type of rule of thumbs, and what we have to do is always obey the scientific methods. We should have a systematic scientific method for the production process. The next one is harmony not discord. That means we should not fight between, there will not be a fight between employer and employee. Everything we want is harmony in the organization. The next is cooperation not individualism. We should not be aware about the individual works that done by each and every employee. So, what we need is a group, what will be our output as a group. So, that is cooperation not individualism. Next is maximum output in the place of restricted output. That means we always focus to share maximum output. Today, for example, if we planning to produce 500 unit turns today, always try to produce above 500 units. So, that is means maximum output in the place of restricted output. And next is development of each man to his greatest efficiency and prosperity. Taylor always focus on the efficiency, increasing the efficiency of the production. So like that, he should also focus to increase the efficiency of each man and increasing the prosperity. So that is all about the characteristics of scientific management theory. Science, we should need harmony, next is cooperation, maximum output, and trying to increase the efficiency of each and every employee. So these are the characteristics. Next, let's see what is the main essence of scientific management theory. And the main essence of scientific management theory is mental revolution. So what is called mental revolution? Mental revolution is actually the cooperation between employer and employee in an organization so as to give maximum output. So there should need a cooperation between employer and employee to get the maximum output. That is called mental revolution, and this is the main essence in scientific management. So don't forget that term, mental revolution. So next, what are the applications of scientific management? Taylor propounded scientific management in the applicated areas like functional foremanship, first one. So functional foremanship, Taylor said like for an organization we should need 8 supervisors. So right now if we have a marketing management system, all the employees coming under marketing should approach the marketing manager for any problems. They should approach marketing manager. Marketing manager is the head for the marketing department. Like finance department, there will be a head like finance manager. So in earlier he said like if each and every employee have any problem, they should approach these 8 different supervisors. So according to the planning section and the production section, there will be 8 supervisors. First one is about planning section. In the planning, when we are planning something for the production, we should need instruction card clerk, next is route clerk, cost and time clerk, next the last one is shop disciplinarian. And like this also we have a production area. While production is going on, we should need 4 supervisors like inspector, speed boss, repair boss and gang boss. So let's see what are the rules and regulations needed for these supervisors. So let's see what are the duties of supervisors in planning section. The first supervisor is instruction card clerk. So concerned with tag down of instructions according to workers record for job. He is always trying to give instructions how many workers are needed, what are the jobs they have to perform. So these are all concerned with instruction card clerk for the instructions. The next is route clerk. He determines the route in which raw materials has to pass. That is in which route that the raw materials has to pass, in which route we have to make it possible effectively. So this all comes under route clerk. So next is cost and time clerk, which concern with the cost and time. What are the expenses that we are needed for the production and what time we need to perform. So these all are comes under cost and time clerk. And the last one is disciplinarian, concerned with the rules and regulations in the production. He is always concerned with the rules, what are the rules and whether everybody is obeying the rules and regulations and all. So these all are comes under disciplinarian. Let's see who are the supervisors in production section. We have 4 supervisors: inspector, speed boss, gang boss, repair boss. The first one is inspector. Those who are giving all inspection, those who concerned with all inspections, who inspect whether everything is working, everything is going well and all. So that's inspector. The next one, speed boss. Speed boss is one who helps to remove any delays in the production process. That means he always trying to speed up the process. Whether there is any delay, he is trying to remove it. So that is called speed boss. And the next one is repair boss. Repair boss is those who concerned with the conditions of machines and tools. That means what is the normal condition of machines, whether they are effectively used, they are efficient, they are in efficient condition or what. So that all comes under repair boss. Next is gang boss. Gang boss is the one who help to make arrangements of workers, machines and tools. That means for a production process, how many workers we needed, what are the tools, what are the machines that we needed, that all comes under gang boss instructions. So these are the supervisors coming under planning and production. So next application is all about motion study. Motion study is the study of movements. That means giving importance to the movements of workers so as to make the production quickly. That means we have to eliminate the unwanted movements for the workers so as to make our production more quickly. Taylor always believes in motion study. And the next one is time study. Time study is for any process, for any production, we should give importance in time planning. We should set a standard time to complete the task. So that is about time study. And the next one is the most important one, differential piece rate system. Differential piece rate system is how we give incentives, how we give benefits to the employees. So here the incentives or benefits we mean the money motivating factor. So differential piece rate system is always thinking of how many units of output we are producing. It's only based on the number of production, number of outputs that we are producing. If we are giving more outputs, we will give more incentive. If we are giving less output, we will give less incentive. So let's see what they are. The method of payment in which standard time is set for completing the task. That means we should need a set standard time for completing the task. If we are doing it before the standard time, we will get a high piece rate system, or if it is below the standard time, you will get a lower piece rate system. So that is, workers will get a high piece rate for completing the job within that allotted time. Likewise, workers will get lower piece rate for completing the job beyond that allotted time. So differential piece rate system is always based on the number of outputs that we are producing. If we are producing high output, more than that we are expecting, we will get high piece rate system. If it is low, we will get low piece rate system. So this is the fourth application of scientific management, differential piece rate system. It is more important. Next, let's see who are the propounders of scientific management theory. The first one is H.L. Gunn, who invented the Gantt chart in 1910. And the next one, Frank Gilbert and his wife Lillian Moller Gilbert. They are always focused in the study of motion. So motion study is focused by them. And the next one is Harrington Emerson. The main work of Emerson is 12 Principles of Efficiency. Again, the propounders of scientific management theory, H.L. Gunn, Gantt chart, Frank Gilbert and Lillian Moller Gilbert, motion study, and Harrington Emerson, 12 Principles of Efficiency. Next, let's see what are the criticism in scientific management theory. The first one, it deals with only the physiological need of human efficiency. That means if an employee is physically fit for the work, he will be selected. There need not be any psychological need, any motivating factor for the employee. So first one is deals with only physiological need of human efficiency. Next is it does not work in any management function. That means in an organization, regularly we want the management functions like planning, organizing, directing, controlling. But according to Taylor, what he said that using the intensive technology, we want efficient machines. Using this efficient machines, we can produce the output more quickly. So it does not deal with any management functions. That's the second point. And next is it is limited to floor shop. That means the production area. That means Taylor always did it as a workshop. So he did it as a laboratory workshop. So everything is limited to the production area or manufacturing area. He did not think about anything further. And next is it is a mechanical approach. Taylor does not give any importance to any creative ideas, any innovative ideas. Whatever be the thing is that mechanical approach. That means we have efficient machines. Using these efficient machines with the help of human beings, we can make the production more possible. So that is, it is always in a mechanical approach. And the next one is separation of planning from doing. In today's scenario, we have to plan and we have to start doing with that planning. But according to Taylor, planning is one part and doing is another part. So the main disadvantage is separation of planning from doing. We have to combine it together. But in the Taylor's scenario, it's separation. There will be a separation between the planning and doing. And the last one is some sort of wrong assumptions. He said that man is an economic man. That means money is only the motivator for the human being. But this is not as true as current scenario. So these are some of the disadvantages of scientific management. First one, it deals with physiological needs only. The second, does not give any importance to management functions. And the third, it's limited to the production area for shop, and it is a mechanical approach. And next one is separation of planning from doing, and the last one, some sort of wrong assumptions. So these are the criticisms in scientific management theory. Next, the four important publications of Taylor. So first one is a piece rate system that is introduced in 1895. Next, shop management published in 1903, and art of cutting metals introduced in 1906. Next, the last one but the important one, principles of scientific management, that's 1911. Next, we are going to start with classical theory. Classical theory was developed during the first half of 20th century. So in classical theory it says that along with the economic need of a man, the employee should need some sort of physical needs also. Here classical theory is also called as traditional theory, formal organization theory, mechanistic theory, structural theory. Next is management process school, and the last one administrative management theory. Actually this theory deviated this mechanical approach of organization to some sort of business functions. So next, what is called classical theory? First, classical theory is propounded by Fayol, hence it is also known as Fayolism. It believed that workers should have economic and some physical needs, but here it also says that there is no need of any social satisfaction or any job satisfaction. They won't think about any psychological needs. The only thing is that during the work we should need some physical rest, and also economic man concept is also here. And the next is classical theory reaches top position when the scientists Gulick and Urwig published the paper on science on administration on 1937. So classical theory got a break through this paper presentation called Science on Administration, in which year? 1937. Next, the characteristics of classical approach. These are the main characteristics of classical approach: specialization, hierarchy, rationality, impersonality, the last one order. First, specialization. Specialization is termed as division of labor. That means each work is divided equally among the laborers. There is an equal division of labor, and that term is specialization, and it is the most important character of a classical approach. Next, hierarchy. Hierarchy means in an organization, if you are doing any production process or any other process, we need a particular hierarchical system from superior to subordinate. That means someone will be there to obey the superior's orders. So that's hierarchy. Next, rationality. Rationality means the logical thinking. That means if we are working for hours, we need a physical rest. So that's something that we think in a logical manner. So here Fayol said that in organization, whatever we are doing, we have to think it in a logical manner. That means that is the rationality. And next, impersonality. Impersonality says that professional life and personal life are entirely different. Whatever happens in personal life, it will not influence our professional life. So that is another concept that Fayol put forward. And the last one is order. Whatever we are doing, we should be in a order. So these are the main characteristics of classical approach. First one, specialization, that is division of labor, equal division of labor. Next, hierarchy, everything need a hierarchical system. Next, rationality, whatever doing should be in a logic manner. Next, impersonality, that means our professional life and personal life are entirely different. And the last one is order, everything should be in a order. So these are the characteristics of classical approach. Next, the main essence of classical approach. As we said in scientific management theory, the main essence is mental revolution. That means the cooperation between employer and employee. Here, the main essence is specialization, that is division of labor. Each worker should be divided equally according to the labor. So specialization is the main essence in classical approach. Next, about Henry Fayol. Fayol is the founder of modern management, and he generated Fayolism, hence it named as Fayolism. Next, he is a French mining engineer, and about his books, the main works of Fayol is General Theory of Business Administration, and the second one, General and Industrial Management, which published in 1916 in French and in 1920 later in English. So these are all about Fayol. And next, some of the major contributions of Fayol. So Fayol actually deviated this mechanical approach into managerial functions. So let's see what are the contributions of Fayol. The first one is 5 primary functions: planning, organizing, directing, coordinating, controlling. We know that as of now in current scenario, an organization want these type of functions. The first one, whatever we are doing, we have to plan it. Then we have to organize it. What number of workers needed, how staffing become, everything will be organized. After organizing, we have to direct according to our correct path to achieve the goals, mission and our vision. So that's directing. Next is coordinating. After directing, commanding to the correct path, we have to coordinate the things. Then after, the last one is controlling the management functions. So these are the 5 primary functions that we need in an organization, and this is introduced by Fayol. This is the first contribution of Fayol, 5 primary functions. PODCC. Next, the 6 activities of an industrial undertaken or business operations. So, in an industry, what are the activities that we have to carry on to make our organization into a success? So, first one, the technical activities. Whatever the activities that happens in our technical side. So, that means the production area, the manufacturing area, the works related to production, manufacturing, all comes under technical side. So, if in an organization, in an industry, we need these technical activities. This is introduced by Henry Fayol. And next, Fayol said that we need commercial activities in an organization. Commercial activities means buying, selling, advertising, all the promotional activities all comes under the commercial side. So, that's all about commercial activities. Next, financial activities. In an organization, we should be aware about the activities happens in the finance area. That means how we use our funds, what the cost of capital there, what expense there, everything comes under financial activities. And next one, security activities. That means the security of our property, security of the human resource. That all comes under security activities. That means what are the activities that we have to undertake to being secured in our resources, in our property, in our lands all. So, that's security activities. And the next one is accounting activities. That means tracking our financial records, balance sheet, bookkeeping, all financial matters comes under accounting activities rather than the accounting activities. So, next, manager or administrative activities. That means all that primary functions, PODCC. Whatever we have to be in an organization as a functional area. So, that comes in managerial or administrative activities. So, these are the 6 activities that we have to undertake in an industry or in a business operation. Our technical side, technical activity, commercial activities, all the promotional side, financial activities, the about fund, cost of capital, expense or next security activities, that is security of property, our land, our human resource. Next, accounting activity, everything comes under accounts. Next, managerial or administrative activities, that means our primary functions. So, these are the 6 activities of an industrial undertaking. And the third one is 14 principles of management. This is introduced by Fayol, the 14 principle. The first one, division of labor, that means specialization. That means each and every worker is given equal labor. So, that comes under the 14 principles, that in an organization we should have an equal division of labor. Second one, authority and responsibility. Fayol said that first we need an authority, then the responsibility follows. That means if we have authority, we will have a sort of responsibility there. But as of current scenario, what we are doing is, first we are giving the responsibility. If we complete the responsibility, we will give the authority. So, according to Fayol, it's the reverse order. That means responsibility follows authority. As of current scenario, authority follows responsibility. So, that's the authority and responsibility. Second point. Next, unity of command. That means the principle of one boss. Each and every worker should have one boss for him. Whatever problems there, he should approach. According to our current scenario, in an organization, we have different departments like marketing, finance, HR. So, if we are taking off marketing department, we have a marketing manager. So, every employee is coming under this marketing department. If they have any problem, they can approach this marketing manager. So, here comes the principle of one boss. That means if we have, it helps to decrease or eliminate all delays, eliminate the confusions of the direction among employer and employee. So, that is the unity of command. We should need a one principle. So, next, discipline. Discipline means in an organization we should be in a disciplined manner. There are clear and fair agreements between employer and employee, so that someone will be there to obey someone's rule. So, that's discipline. Next, unity of direction. In an organization, we have the vision and mission. So, each and every employee in an organization should be clearly deviated to that path of vision and mission, so that we will make a success in the organization. So, we should have a clear path for the direction. So, that is unity of direction. Next, subordination of individual interest to general interest. That means each individual have their individual interest. So, if we are in an organization, each and every member should be in a general interest, so as to achieve the goals and mission of our organization. So, our individual interest has to transfer to a general interest if we are in an organization. Next, about centralization and decentralization. Centralization considered as the top management which have the right for the decision making. And decentralization means the authority that sharing the authority coming under centralization. So according to Fayol, it says that we should have both centralization and decentralization. There are the power for the authority which have taking the decision and also the someone who obey that, sharing the authority, that's decentralization. So that's centralization and decentralization. Next, scalar chain. Scalar chain is an ultimate chain from the superior to subordinates, from higher part to lower part. So here scalar chain, we have another term called Gangplank, which is the extension of scalar chain. That means if we have to pass a particular chain from higher authority to lower authority like A to B to C to D, so we are planning to transfer the data from A to D. So if we are eliminating this B and C and directly we are planning to transfer from A to D, it's considered as a Gangplank. That is the extension of scalar chain. And this term is more important. And next, equity. Equity means each and every employee should be treated as equally without any discrimination. In an organization, there should be an equity in nature. So that's equity. Next is order. Order means everything should be in order, like the machines, tools, the employees, arrangement of employees, everything should be in order. That's the term order. Next is stability of tenure of personnel. That means in current scenario we have a tendency to skip the jobs from one to another. So according to Fayol, he said that if we are in a job, we have to stay stable in that job. That helps to bring a success in the organization. If we are skipping from one job to another, it won't give a success to the organization. So we have to be in a range that we should be stable in our job in the organization. That brings the success. So next is initiative. That means employees should give an initiative to create ideas, to generate innovative and creative ideas, so that it brings success in the organization. So they have to give the freedom for initiative. And next, fair remuneration. That each and every worker will be provided with fair remuneration for the performance, for the job. Next, team spirit. That means harmony in the company. Everything should be in a team spirit for the success of organization. We are not considering the individual work, we are considering the team spirit. So these are the principles of management. That means in an organization, if you want to be in a success or if you want to achieve our goals, these are some of the 14 principles that we have to obey for the success of the organization. So these are the three major contributions of Henry Fayol. The first one is 5 primary functions, PODCC. Next is the 6 activities of an industrial undertaking: technical activities, commercial, financial, security, accounting, managerial. And the last one is the most important, 14 principles of management. Next, who are the propounders of classical approach? The first one, the founder of classical approach, Henry Fayol, Lintel Urwick, Gulick, Mooney and Rayleigh. Next, Mary Parker Follett. And these are some of the founders of classical approach. Next, the comparison between Taylorism and Fayolism, that is scientific management theory and classical approach. What are the difference, what are the similarities? The first one is Taylorism is a bottom-up approach, where Fayolism is top-down approach. Bottom-up approach means the employees work and make the production giving to the top management. So it's like specific, individual to general. Next, in Fayolism at the same time it's top-down approach. That means general to specific. That means the top management decide what are the goals, what are the missions, and providing it to the low-level employees. So that is top-down. That's a decision from general to specific. The next point is about Taylorism is micro approach, where Fayolism is macro approach. Here Taylorism is micro approach means they always focus on the elimination of waste, because Taylor's experiments are all limited to a floor shop, the production area or manufacturing area. So it's a micro approach, where Fayolism is a macro approach. It's like a universalization, because whatever we are doing we can apply it to in general manner. So micro approach at the same time we can apply it to a workshop only. So next, efficiency oriented. Taylorism is efficiency oriented, where Fayolism is function oriented. Taylor always focus or emphasize on increasing the efficiency of work and increasing the production units output. Whether Fayolism always check whether the management functions are carrying out or not. So that is function focused. What are the functions we are undertaking for the success of the organization? Next, Taylorism is scientific based. They always emphasize in the scientific method science, that they are applying science into the management, where Fayyolism it is practice based. That means the pragmatic way of actions. We practice something and we are waiting for the result. So everything based on practicement. Next, Taylorism is production focused. Always focus on the number of units of output that we are producing. So at the same time, Fayyolism is process oriented. That means what are the functions that we are taken for the success of the organization. So here, for the success of an organization, Taylor always believe that production gives the success. At the same time, Fayol gives that the management functions, the process gives the success. And the next one, Taylorism, everything is based on observations and experiments. We did the experiments and observe it and we analyze and give to a conclusion. At the same time, Fayyolism, it's all about personal experience. That means we think in a logical manner and expect some result. So everything is based on that experience. And the last one, Taylorism is an engineering approach or rather than a mechanical approach. At the same time, Fayyolism is a manager's approach. Whatever a manager did according to the management functions, everything comes under Fayyolism. But Taylorism, everything according to a science, the machine's mechanical approach, like an engineering approach. So these are the comparison of Taylorism and Fayyolism. This is the first video which we uploaded in HRM. Thanks for watching. More videos will be coming soon. Stay tuned. We'll be back.